So, John, how did you end up here?
In Walterborough or?
At UPakWeShip.
Well, I've had a long career in the floor covering business. I'm from England originally and lived in the Middle East, as you know, Mark, and then got an opportunity to come over to the States. And just over a year ago...
Who moved you?
You did. Wasn't very good, but you know.
Many years ago.
Yeah, you
Best
did.
movie you ever did, right?
Yeah, it was good. And so changed jobs, worked from home, children have left the nest, and moved down to Florida and joined UPakWeShip in a nutshell.
And you enjoying it?
Very much.
Would you tell me if you weren't?
Yeah, I probably would, yeah.
What about you, Steve?
Well, I met you about 23 years ago at a convention.
When we were kids.
When we were young.
Yeah.
When we had brown hair. And we kept in contact little by little. And we worked with you a few times as an agent, different companies I've worked in.
And where do you live?
I live in Alicante, in Spain. So I'm kind of
Very nice too.
very lucky.
Yeah.
In fact, John and I are both very lucky because we both live in really, really nice places.
It's funny that you're both expats, both not living in your own country, as I, myself.
Yeah, 3 Brits in Walterborough, South Carolina right now.
We've all lived all over the place, though, haven't we? I
Yes.
mean, so Barcelona. You lived in Italy, have you not, for a little
I
bit?
studied in Italy.
You stayed in Italy, and then
Studied in France as well, didn't you?
Yeah, and then lived in the Middle East, 2 years in Saudi Arabia, which is a lovely place if there are any Saudis looking. And then I went to Dubai and then back to England, then States for 25 years or so.
oh wow,
Yeah.
oh wow. And I went to university here and did some high school here, and then went to Barcelona on a contract, and just loved Spain and thought I'll just stay here.
I don't blame you. Don't blame you. Yeah. Well, I was going to say, what qualities do you have to make this work for UPakWeShip? But I think you just answered that really. That you've moved yourself. You know what it's like being an expat. Do you miss England?
I miss the sense of humour a little bit. I think that's about it. We can't really miss the food in England.
Oh yes,
to
we
be
can.
fair.
Sausage rolls, Cornish pasties.
Yeah, we were talking about this the other day. I don't miss any of that stuff, but I miss the sense of humour. I miss like a pub, like a country pub kind of thing. I miss that.
I miss my local pub. I had a good pub. It was 800 years old and I missed it. No, I love living in the States. I'm happy.
So seeing all of us have moved ourselves, what do you think is a great tip for people moving overseas?
Check out where you're going to move to first. Maybe visit for a month or so, and don't make a rash decision because it looks nice in a brochure or because your friend told you it was cool, and then make a final choice of where you want to live. That's what I would say.
I
Yeah.
totally agree.
I would say also rent before you buy.
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah. And another thing that particularly like Spain, what might be a beautiful place in the summer might not be so much in the winter. Some of these places can clear out. Once the tourists have all left, the shops don't open, you're in a dead area. So you need to visit a place different times of the year as well, I think.
It's like Portugal too. I think you should move to somewhere where there are some natives, because they're going to be there. They're going to be more of a support group than perhaps you would think the expats would be. And just try and I don't know, socialize yourself a bit into their culture, learn the language. Otherwise, you're going to feel alienated, and you want to feel part of something. So I would certainly think it's best to try and fit in a little bit.
Have a bit of a mix.
Yeah.
What would you do? Would you take everything with you, or just your personal bits and pieces? What do you think?
It's really interesting. I ask a lot of people, how much do you love that dining room table? Because there is a void between just taking boxes and taking a full house full of all your furniture and the person that wants some boxes and one table.
Yes, or they'll say, I want to take 25 boxes and my mattress. So I know you've got some good memories on that mattress, but buying you one when you get there is just not worth the cost of shipping the mattress, just sit the boxes, right?
And I have those conversations a lot. And most of the time, unless it's a family heirloom that's, been in the family for years and years and years, most people, if they do take that piece of furniture, I say, well, in that case, why don't you take everything?
Yeah, either take the whole lot or don't take any and just take
Yeah,
the personal bits
yeah.
and pieces. Take some boxes and golf clubs and musical instruments and whatever. Yeah,
Yeah.
I agree. What's the best move you've ever booked?
A couple, but there's one that I started speaking French to this gentleman, and he originated near Strasbourg, which is where I learned French. And so I got to chat with this guy, and then normally once I get the order from a customer to go ahead with a booking, I hand it over to our operations team and they make sure it all happens smoothly and everything like that. But I decided to Google this guy because he was quite interesting. And he came over from France to Chicago and started a school of patisserie, which is pastry making. And then you realize that he's one of the top pastry chefs in the world.
Wow.
This school is very, very high end, and he was just retiring and going back to live quietly in a small town in France, and I loved that. That was good.
That's pretty cool. You just never know who's going to move, do you, really? I mean, it can be anyone from a film star, pop star, all kinds of different industries, chefs, all kinds of people. You just
Yeah.
never know who's going to move next.
Yeah.
My favourite is I did a survey in just outside of DC a few years ago, and I met this lady in her 80s, and she told me she was moving back to England because her fiance lived in England, and she was getting married for the first time, and she was in her 80s.
Oh wow.
And she met this guy somewhere overseas, and she was British. She had lived in DC for years and years, and yeah, she was going back over to get married and live in England.
Cougar.
80-something years old. I thought that was fantastic. I thought it was very, very cool. So I enjoyed doing that move. That's probably my most favourite. And I've done famous directors and people.
And singers and stuff. We were
Yeah,
talking about it yesterday.
And
but I like
me.
that one, and you, yes, and you. But that was my favourite, the lady in her 80s going home to get married. I thought that was pretty cool. What's your favourite place if you could go anywhere in the world to move to, where would you live? You've lived all over, or you've visited all over.
I've visited 79 countries, been around the world 22 times, going the same direction. I love where I'm living right now, I'll be honest with you. Pensacola, Florida, for John Bonnie, is just a wonderful place to live. I fell in love
You
with
get paid by Florida Tourism
yeah,
Authority on this
Escambia
one,
County
shouldn't we?
Tourism Department. New Zealand, I loved New Zealand. I went there many, many times. And Mauritius is just a gorgeous place. But no, I'm happy, very happy here. This country has been good to me, the USA.
Me too. What about you, Steve?
I think
Would you pick
Italy.
Spain? Italy, yes.
I think
Yeah.
Tuscany, like you were saying before.
Tuscany is
I think
fantastic.
somewhere on Lake Como. Or
Well, if you had a
something.
few million, I guess you could be
Yeah,
next
but
to George.
I'm thinking that will happen at
Yeah.
some stage.
Yeah, you could be neighbours with George,
George,
Mr. Clooney. Yeah.
Mr. C, the big C. Yeah, I think that would be ideal. That would be a dream, wouldn't it? Italy's special. There's something about it, isn't it? Just a different, different.
Yeah, you're right. It's
I love
lovely.
Italy, I must admit. It's probably my favourite European country.
There's atmosphere. It's
France
just-
with a close second, though, I must admit. France is.
That was you. You were saying that. You said you preferred France.
I love France. I used to have an office in Paris. I used to commute there all the time. I had sales team in all the nice places. I love France. But worldwide, just New Zealand has a special place. You know.
Any advice you would like to give them while we're talking here?
Yeah, I find it's always an easier conversation with someone if they've visited our website, if they know what services we have to offer. You do get a lot of people just shopping around who call you, they've got your phone number, and they ask, do you move people? And what services do you have? And obviously I don't say, why didn't you go to the website? But it's always much easier if people have done a little bit of research on us and other companies, obviously.
Yeah, because I think, sort of on that point, our website actually gives an awful lot more information than some websites. Some websites says, oh, we'll move you anywhere, anytime, sort of thing, like the old Martini advert.
Yeah,
But,
anytime, any place, anywhere.
but ours has an awful lot more information on there, where you can actually narrow it down to, oh, that's what I want.
Yeah.
because we've got videos, pictures, information about services, slideshows. We
Yeah.
actually have a lot more that they can learn about before they actually make that phone call, if they want. Or they can go the other way and just, I guess, give us a call and we go through it with them. But
Yeah.
what do you think, Steve?
I think I'd say just don't be afraid to email or call with any question you have or they have, or however small and insignificant it may. Sometimes when you're doing something, you feel silly about asking a question. You think it's something obvious. Nothing's obvious because people don't move every day. So just contact us. I mean, I think we differentiate from other companies by the fact that we get back to you as very quickly as possible.
Well, the first thing is we actually answer the phone.
Yeah, we actually answer the phone, and we'll answer an email, even if it's just like an email saying, "Sorry, I'm busy. I'll get back to you in half an hour" or something. I think that's what people need to think about. They also need to think about, as John was saying before, what they'd really need to take with them if they want to do a full service move. If they want one of our U crates, we do everything. So I often ask them, what you're moving, so what would your ideal move scenario be? What would make you happy?
And of course we're a little bit different because we encourage people to pack themselves, where most other movers will turn around and say, oh, you can't do that. Well, obviously you can,
Yeah.
otherwise we wouldn't be in business. But I think, do you agree that people can pack themselves probably better than a lot of moving companies?
Well, I've done like little video calls to show people how to pack. I think if it's a small move, like a large moving company, they're going to do 5 or 6 small collections a day. That means the crew's in a hurry. If it's not a big move, then they're going to send, maybe, this may not be true in all cases, but sometimes you may get the B crew, which means they probably won't pack that well. It'll be like put in a warehouse and then loaded into a groupage container, which means all stacked in and crushed in.
What you mean is loose, right?
Yeah, like loose.
Box by box as opposed to crate by crate.
That's right. And they stand on those things to stack higher because containers are tall. Also, if you're packing your own stuff yourself, it has a personal value to you, so you're going to pack it better.
You know what's valuable to you, which not necessarily a packer would know.
Yeah.
So that's a Ming vase as opposed to a vase from Walmart or whatever. Yeah. You know it, so if it's worth a lot to you, you're going to put a ton of bubble wrap around it, whereas a mover probably wouldn't.
Yeah.
Any other advice for customers thinking about moving?
I get a lot of moves going to Portugal. A lot. It's a huge percentage of the moves that I do. And
is it because they all like sardines?
not as such. I think the main reason is that we clear customs with our U crates and pallets in Rotterdam. And the Portuguese authority, although the EU is supposedly one big nation, it's very different when you ship into individual countries. And in Portugal, very difficult to deal with. You have to get this baggage certificate, you have to go to your local consulate in New York or LA or wherever. And
Which we
so
have to do
that's
with
a
a
big
full
deal.
20-foot
Which we do with
container.
our full containers.
But the U crates, we do skip around that.
So we're able to really help customers out by removing that worry from them.
Yes.
Yeah,
that's a good
sadly,
point,
the EU
yeah.
hasn't worked in that respect because Italy's similar. If we were to ship and clear in Italy, it would be the same. Spain's exactly the same. It's an entire paperwork nightmare, and it's just difficult for the customers because obviously a lot of our people we move to Portugal and Spain don't speak the language, which means they're not fully informed and getting information is difficult. And it works so well. No, really, it really works so well that we don't clear in Portugal or Spain or Italy.
Yeah, going through the U crates and pallets going through our office in Rotterdam certainly is the way to go. Good point. Thank you. Thanks for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Hope you maybe learnt something. See you on the next one.